Good evening, everybody. And if you're just tuning in, welcome. You're listening to the Angel Rock live on UPRN. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin. I'll tell you a little bit about the show and myself. If you're a returning watcher, viewer, welcome. But I want to tell you, if you're listening, we are on our alternative channel. We got a strike and we're on hiatus with the UFO gods and extraterrestrial. Oh, sorry, no, that's our extra channel. We are on hiatus from UFO Paranormal Radio. So where we are, and there's a link if you follow me on Facebook or anywhere on social media, I have that link for you to click. And what it is UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. It's our second new YouTube channel. We have a third. I wasn't able to find it. It's not new yet. It'll build up quickly, but you can find me if you want to watch the show on there. I keep an eye on the chat. I can see everything with StreamYard, but that way you guys can interact with the other guests that are watching. So feel free to join us there. So if this is your first time coming to the Angel Rock, welcome. My show, I cover all aspects, I say, of the supernatural. So anything from the paranormal to UFOs, aliens, cryptids. Also cover a lot of light worker topics because that's basically what I am. So things with energy, chakras, how to access your third eye, meet your spirit guides, anything like that. And I also cover, which I prefer to call it truth seeking versus conspiracy theory. I'm a Canadian psychic medium. I'm also a crystal Reiki energy healer. I'm a medical intuitive, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor, and I'm also a nurse. So we do have a wonderful guest for you. I don't know if he's having a hard time connecting. I'm waiting to see if I hear from him. I did send him the link, and Joe, if he's in the green room, I know that Joe Montaldo, the owner of UPRN, he's also producer for all of our shows. I want to give him a huge shout out. I always tell him this, and I say it every show. I don't know how he does it because he runs a big construction company out in New Orleans, Louisiana, where we're broadcasting from. And then he produces us all and makes our job so easy. I just get to sit and talk to my interesting guests. So we're going to carry on like he's here. He is a friend of mine. I've met him recently when we were members of a certain tribunal that we aren't anymore, but I'm really glad that I met him because I've met quite a few great people that way. And his name is Jimuphy Masters. So Jimuphy is originally from the UK, but he lives in Australia, and he's a documentary filmmaker as well as a podcaster himself. I've been on his show many times, and we've had some great discussions with our mutual friend Karen Holton, who has also been a guest on this show. She's Canadian, and I probably will be having her on in the fall again. He's also a software developer and a DJ. So, after accumulating years of studies and data relating to current world affairs, Jimothy felt it was necessary to condense his knowledge and findings in a series of videos under the banner of PlannedilLusion. And he also made a documentary. That was kind of how he started his podcast, I like to call it, or channel, because he has a channel too on numerous sites we'll talk about. And it's quite the documentary. You may want to check that out. We would definitely have a link for him. And I always give my guest time at the end of the show to talk about where you can find them, what they've got coming up. And so we're going to be talking about his work and his experiences and what he is seeing in Australia with the state of the world here. So hopefully, I don't know what happened to him. We'll check again in case he sent me a message on Messenger and it didn't pop up on my phone. So I don't know where he is. Hopefully he can connect. If not, I guess we may just be chatting with me this evening, which is okay. I obviously have no trouble talking. So what we may be talking about when we were on Jimothy's show, what we talked about, and he has various guests from all around the world, all various walks of life. And he's kind of getting the story from the people, if you will. So, for example, with Canada, he had myself. I live in a city called Thunder Bay, which is in northwestern Ontario. It's about 35 minutes from the Minnesota border. And if any of you know where places are in the US, I'm about 6 hours north of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, and Karen, who joined us, is actually, I believe she's close to Edmonton, Alberta. And we have the Dell, who is the host of the delicious recipe. I'm just waiting for my guest to join me. So is that why you're popping in?
Yeah, no, this is the last day that I can wear shorts and a tank top.
Stop. Anyway, so he's being what he usually does. He's being a little monkey. So anyways, I'm just waiting for Jimuphy, like I said. Now he's made me lose my train of thought. So anyways, now I know where I was. With Karen and I started. Are you done? I never do this to him during his show. Spouses, I swear. I guess opposites attract. Anyways, when Karen and I were on his show, we've been on twice, we were talking about, because for those of you that may not know where Alberta is, it's one province over from the farthest west coast of Canada. And I actually live right smack dab in the middle of Canada. Like if you look at Lake Superior, it almost looks like the shape of a wolf head. We would be right about where the eyeball would be if it was an actual wolf. So, and obviously things are differing like they are in various parts of the world, from state to state, to province. And there were some things that were very, very illuminating for Jimothy when we were talking about this, including the COVID hotels that we have here, courtesy of our lovely Prime Minister in Canada, Justin Trudeau. And I say that facetiously, because I see that one of my friends just sent this to me, but I was aware of it. Apparently, we're supposed to be opening our borders finally April 9th. Like we talked about this on the paranormal host chat before, that we have quite a few of us every Monday talking about this from 5 to 7 Central. And they're opening up the borders. So we will be discussing that. We have the Centralist, which is Joe's show, and it's a host chat, and we discuss what's going on in politics. So there is a lot to talk about on Friday regarding politics, because we will have people from the US, meaning Joe, usually Michael Angley, who does Red Pill News, and he has his paranormal show as well on Tuesday nights. He's there, and then the Dell, as you met him already, has he jumped in here, and myself usually. So, and because Adele and I are from Canada, we bring a little bit different news. And I know Joe and I were even talking about this after hours one time after my show. It almost seems like you have to go to another country to even, I find, an independent news source that's well known. Sometimes the mainstream media in another country too, you will actually find out what's going on in your own country. It's really unusual, and I've been finding a lot of people have been feeling the same. And let me message Jimothy again and see what's going on here, if he's going to join us or what's happening. I'm going to say, live. We're just waiting for you. Sorry, guys. We're just waiting for you. Sorry if I don't want to have any dead air. So hopefully he can get in here. The other thing is, we've got some chat here. Let me check out our chat. So, you are in here. I am so sorry, Jimothy. I'm glad you sent me a message. Joe, if you can hear me, poor Jimothy is in the green room. Hang on, Jimothy. I'm going to text him. He may not be right in front of the computer. He said he was going to watch for you. So I'll say, Joe, my guest is here. Are you in?
I am indeed, yes.
Okay, I was just texting him. I knew you might have heard me, and I heard breathing. So hang on. How are you?
I am very, very good. It's been a very, very busy period, as you can imagine.
It's so weird, I'm sure, to come on to a live podcast. I've already introduced you, told people PlannedilLusion and all kinds of things. So you know where I'd love to start? Because I was talking about your documentary. Do you want to tell people maybe how you started with your channel and with your podcast? Because you said you have your documentary with PlannedilLusion, and then you sort of built off that, right?
Yeah, so initially it started last year, August, with the documentaries. They were supposed to be summaries for friends and families who were trying to navigate and make sense of what they were experiencing. And I thought the easiest thing to do, rather than having to, make the same explanations time and time and time again, I thought it would be convenient to just point people to a place where they can, in their own time and in their own space, download and view the videos.
Sure.
So what happened was, a friend of mine who had a YouTube channel agreed to host the first 3 episodes, and just by sheer providence,
right,
two major YouTube platforms in the States. I think one was Richie from Boston, and also Carol from Never Lose Truth. Both independently did actual live stream showcases of the documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what probably happened was, their subscribers had told them that they'd seen the documentary, and they got excited and took it, took the initiative to basically showcase the documentary, and it just flew from there. And in fact, it made such a storm that after about sort of 150,000 views, it got banned. It got pulled.
Oh, well, then you hit the big time if you're banned.
So I was getting messages from people saying, "Hey, you shouldn't stop. Start up your own channel. Hey, do it on BitChute." And I'm thinking, geez, I have no idea of this. I'm used to watching everybody else's stuff. I've got no idea about, doing, setting up a platform. I think you got to be kidding me. But then, I thought about it, and I thought, well, look, I've got nothing to lose. I'll go ahead and do it. So then I did episode 4 and 5 and 6.
Right.
That took me up to January of this year. But I was finding that people were sort of so hungry for the stuff that they were saying to me, look, that the time between the episodes was quite long. So, I decided, well, okay, what I'll do is I'll do it like a 1 hour chat format. That'll keep people busy whilst I'm working on the documentaries. And that was where I got people like yourself on, people like Karen Holton. In fact, I was really surprised how many people, from the independent media world actually were keen to come on and have a chat with me. It was just a surprise. But then even that wasn't enough. I had to come up with an even shorter segment. These are the news alerts.
I love those.
I've just uploaded one literally a few hours ago. I think that was the one that you got last.
I didn't get a chance to watch it because, as you know, being in the field that we're in, there is news and information coming in nonstop around the world, like nonstop, especially the last week and a half, 2 weeks. It's crazy.
I know it's crazy. So yeah, but so really, I've been the architect of my own success because, in fairness, Lorilei, it's now become an 18-hour job. I kid you not.
But you know what? I want to stop you right there for a second, Jimuphy. The reason why that's so unique about what you do, and when I first seen, because when Karen had asked me, I didn't know you. Karen's a friend of mine. I've known for quite a few years. She's actually been on my show before. And she told me about you. She said, he's such a nice man and you're going to love it. And then she sent me the episode that just you and her did. The amount of work that you put in there. Never mind. I was just saying to someone today that how conscientious of a researcher you are, because I sent you notice that we have been open here in Ontario since June the 9th, and there's been no announcement. And I did my own research with the Ontario website. I couldn't find what you found. Never mind what you add into your documentaries. You do a lot of work.
Indeed, yes. And I suppose the reason is because fear of, people queuing up literally that will try and shoot you down, especially because no one knows me. They're expecting that an unknown entity like myself is going to get it wrong. So as you notice with my stuff, so for example, the statements that you made on my show, I wanted to make sure that, people knew that Lorilei's just not making those statements aimlessly. So I back them up with the supporting other videos or supporting actual government websites. So that's what takes so long. I kid you not. It's killing me. It really is. But there's no other way I can do it. Otherwise, you'll just have trolls basically saying, this isn't true, you don't know what you're talking about, kind of thing,
No, but the beauty in it is, and I can certainly appreciate, and folks, like I say, I was just telling you before you came on, I would always give my guests time at the end of the show to know where to find you, where to find your work. Plus, when I do the banner up, there's connection links for you there as well. Or I have people that listen to the show and they'll message me like after the show and say, what was that website again? Even though it's wherever. So people, because I think like Joe's done such a great job. He's been doing this for God, I think this network, it's been almost 24, 25 years, and we're growing hugely. We had he mentioned a little bit about it at the beginning of our paranormal host chat tonight. So normally, I think he's told me my numbers are around 300,000 people around the world watching live right now, never mind the archives. So what happens is, because there's so much misinformation out there, that when you find somebody like you that is very conscientious, is like dotting all their I's, crossing all their T's, people tend to rely on you because they know that you're a reputable source. Plus, you have great entertainment value in the videos that you do. I really have to say that because you
Thank
add so
you.
much. Mm-hmm. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's, as you know from our numerous chats, which I always enjoy, folks. When me and Lorilei talk, that's it. It's an hour out
Oh,
straight.
Agreed. Yes.
It's great. It's great. Absolutely great. So look. The backstory for me is I'm an Englishman,
Yes.
but I moved to Australia with my ex-wife, who's actually Australian.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can appreciate. Um, Being an Englishman talking about Aussie affairs is not going to go down very well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in actual fact, Australians generally, I find, are not normally into this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, I really had to make sure that whatever I put out was backed up with facts. And I've got to say, over the last few months, a lot of Australians now have picked up on the channel, and they do, as you quite rightly say, they know that I am factual. I pick up. I mean, look, for example, with the news alerts, all the web links are actually the government web links.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this current news alert, which basically focuses on the fact that the vaccinated are now, contracting COVID, that's from their own government, web sources. So you can't argue with that. And I think the Aussies are appreciating that because, as you well know, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of people who are quite happy to, clickbait stuff, just push it out there just to sensationalize whatever you. I don't think Australians would appreciate that. And you know what? I think it becomes very dangerous when you start peddling misinformation. You've got to be able to back it up.
Well, that's what happens, right? Like, I'm going to give an example. I warned Joe ahead of time. I said we hadn't talked about what we were talking about, but I know you well enough. I said I haven't known you forever, but it feels like I have. And when we talk forever.
Indeed.
And I warned him. I said, you know what? This shouldn't probably go up on our YouTube. So it's not, because he doesn't like to censor us. And I knew we'd be talking about sensitive subjects. Now, I know I sent this to you yesterday. I got this last night. Pictures of UN vehicles. Right? And it didn't say where it was, but I know enough of Toronto, Ontario, that Steeles, it's called, is actually it's kind of like a subsidiary of Toronto, kind of like in the outskirts, right? It's not a borough. I don't want to call it that. They're not really little towns, but kind of like little suburbs, and they all have names, right? And somebody had given me the information that where these were parked was a facility for big pharma, right? So all I did was sent it out. I didn't put any opinion with it because I have a core group of people around the world that I share stuff with, including I'm in a couple private groups that have people from around the world. Now, I have enough sources that I know there are certain people that will be able to find out if I can't find out. So I haven't even had a chance to tell you this. So what happened is somebody, and I've had him on my show a couple times. He's from Canada, but he was in the military for God, years since he was a teenager. He's kind of had an epiphany, if you will, an awakening. long before this happened. He did a lot of research and saw what he thinks is going to happen. And a lot of the stuff he's talked to me about and been public about has happened. He left everything in Canada. There's a reason why I'm sharing all this. Left everything in Canada. His wife is actually, I believe, from Ecuador, and they're in Ecuador right now. But I also know with the background he has that he's got more information than I do. He just got back to me today and found out that yes, where these vehicles are parked, the UN vehicles, was a big pharma facility that apparently used to make hydroxychloroquine. Sorry, but what happened is the owner of the building and kind of the company that manufactured this, him and his wife were found murdered. Shortly when this started, if I'm not mistaken, somebody sent me the article. The person that did it has never been found. So I guess what happened was the company was moved another block over into the 200 block. This was in the 100 block. And somebody, I think it was a retired police officer, sent my friend, the ex-military, a picture. And I couldn't understand why they were allowing people to go right up to these vehicles. Like they're UN armored vehicles, and you're letting people take video and on both sides of the fence. Something just didn't ring true with me. Well, he got in one of the videos, there was an icon in there, and he recognized it and he looked it up. And it actually is now, where these vehicles are parked, a facility to make armored vehicles for the military, the UN, and what have you. But then we move forward, right? Okay, so these vehicles are manufactured. Why have you got them all parked out front where the public can all see them? Now, to me, because the truth community has jumped all over this, this has gone viral since last night. And again, it's just my opinion, but what better way to cast doubt in the truth community? Because I'll bet you probably in another couple days there's going to be a mainstream media article about, look at these beautiful shiny vehicles that, you know, Canada got the contract for to make for the UN, right? So then it casts doubt in the truther community, like, yep, told you, nothing but conspiracy theorists, right? So that's why it's so important to really get down to the truth. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I think that we have to understand first and foremost, folks, that this is a war. It's a totally unconventional war, but nonetheless, it's definitely a war. And the enemy is using every tactics ever known to warfare, and a whole lot of new tactics as well. Certainly, information, misinformation, and disinformation is the key armory in their tool set. So to say that we have to be diligent is an understatement. Absolutely. I think certainly we also have to understand that our ability as the truth community, global truth community, to be able to come together, compare notes, absolutely, and basically then off the back of that, make our decision as to how we're going to move. I think also, this is going to go all the way. And understanding that our numbers is really our main defense here. We still have enough of us here. And we're very, very capable. Okay. I believe that we're not alone. Spiritually, we're not alone. Yep. We have to basically utilize every single thing that we have accessible to us. We have to. But certainly, I don't think it's wise to assume anything is not possible. I don't think that's wise.
We need to have that quote that anything is possible, and even beyond your wildest imagination. I want to take 1 sec because we have people that pop in, and she's been to a couple, I know usually our host chats, but her name is Jeannie Spencer, and she says hello from the UK. So I wanted to make sure I gave her a shout out.
How you doing? Good stuff. Yeah, so I mean, it's look, speaking to yourself and Karen has been an eye-opener for me in terms of understanding the blueprint. There is a blueprint here.
Absolutely.
Okay. And one of the games that they're playing is something that I recognize from the world of software development, which is before you put out a product, you have to test it.
Yeah.
And the way you test it is you create a test environment. You basically push whatever product or whatever it is in that test environment, and then when you're happy with it, then you go full bore. You push it out to the main production environment, i.e., you put it out to the shops or the stores or what have you else.
Yeah.
Now, what I see here is they'll try one part of the weaponry in one country. Okay, and using social media, using the talking heads, using misinformation or whatever else, they will gather information as to how did these human beings respond? How, what's the best game plan? What's going on here? Okay, so, and then off the back of that, then they'll basically go, right, full bore, disseminate. So you could almost say the first test that they put out from a few years ago was the Chinese social credit system. That was the test. Okay. And before we knew it, even people like myself, we thought, it's going to be a good few years before that would ever come to the West, because for starters, we'd push back on it. But of course, COVID-19 gave them the plausible deniability to actually roll out a Western style of the social credit system, pretty much on steroids. I mean, in China, you have to actually commit a crime. There's actually a crime. Don't pay your taxes, or steal or something. Pretty much being undesirable.
Really innocuous things, though, that was affecting people, like almost like not even ethical, but social things that are expected, and if you sort of differed from the norm.
Well, that as well. I think that on the outset, look, if you ask the Chinese person, prior to 2020, and you ask them, oh, what do you think of the social credit system? Oh, fine. It's great, because this was the buzzword, or it means that everyone abides. It keeps the country safe, because by and large, it was being rolled out for the purpose, from the eyes of the general public, for the purposes of keeping law and order. So it seemed like a great thing, but it's the manner with which it was being pushed out. You were getting points, really? And then I was hearing that, because it's one thing to have systems that look at your vehicle driving history and allocate your points, or, allocate points for how quickly you pay your bills or whatever else. But it's another thing to be able to police that on the ground. But of course, they had your local neighborhood watches, women with notepads, whatever else, literally walking around the street looking to say, oh, you've dropped litter. Here, you've deducted points. You said something wrong on social media. I saw you. You've deducted points. So that's when it got a bit sinister. Now, what you see here with COVID-19 is a medical health you've got a medical health weapon being used arbitrarily, because you see, just by way of being asymptomatic, in other words, go and get tested. You're perfectly healthy, by the way. Go and get tested, get an arbitrary positive result, and suddenly, right, you have to self-isolate, then you have to get vaccine. If you don't comply with any of those things, you're basically enemy number one. So in essence, then, we're seeing the social credit system 1 billion times worse on steroids. You've now got a situation.
we're kind of close to it here, Jimuphy, already, because he's already our prime minister and the premiers of each province, especially in Ontario. The people are being paid to spy on other people, and if you basically narc or tattle on your neighbor, you get paid. You get a payday. And he's mentioned how much Justin Trudeau, he admires China. He loves how they run it. He thinks it's the best thing. We just went through a big scare with censorship that the government was, and it's going to be revisited in this September when they reconvene at the end of September. We're hoping an election will be called by then. But the problem with Canada is, at least in the US, they're only allowed 2 terms. Justin Trudeau's father was in power for 28 years. Nobody
Wow.
stops them. And so like I said, there's been many things he's been going very, very, very much and navigating towards communism. I do want to stop you for 1 sec because Jeannie said a few things. She said, I'm good, was set free today, the 19th in the UK. I'm not sure what that means, but she said, Jimuphy, what part of the UK are you from?
So I'm from London. I was born in East London in Hackney, and then moved. Sorry, I was born in Stratford.
Okay.
Lived in Hackney, but then spent the most of my adult life in Chiswick, West London.
Okay. That's she isn't able to pop in during this time on my show, so I really appreciate having her. She usually attends our host chat, so it's so nice to have you here, Jeannie. So back to the social credit score. Like you're right. Actually, we are even broadcast in China. Can you believe that?
Oh, really?
Like, I don't.
Wow.
Yeah, everywhere. Like we were just talking about in the meeting. So we're always kind to China because we appreciate the listeners that are there. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're able to listen apparently. So, but you are right. And the thing is, and I don't think we've ever talked about this privately. We might have touched on it, but my thoughts are, they always tell us. They always do. It's like it's up to the regular Joe or person to figure out where they've told us, whether it's in a movie, a music video, whether there's a magazine over here from the US that comes out, The Economist, and every year in January, that is the cover to look at. Because there's one from just before all this began that has all kinds of symbology on it. It had the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. It had the Vitruvian man. There were panda. There was all kinds of stuff. The year before that, they actually put tarot cards, but they changed them to people that were within the world. So there's a card called the Tower card, and it said Trump across the front, and it had all these flames coming out. Well, lo and behold, I think it was 4 or 5 months later, the top of the Trump towers were on fire that year. So are the Simpsons, like, look at the big conspiracy about, well, how do the Simpsons always know what's coming on? They know. They're not psychic. They know because they know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, absolutely. You know, look, just think about this, folks. It took only 15 months.
Yeah, we talked about that.
For us to get to this point, you know, which is truly incredible. So clearly, this has been something that's been planned without a doubt. And by way of predictive programming, which is what you're referring to there, you know, the whole predictive programming thing, we know, Laurie, in the world, in the spirit realm, there is a universal law, which is you must announce what you're doing so that then, in essence, it's almost you're getting the compliance from your victim or what have you else. So, but by way of predictive programming, that's the enemy's way of saying, well, we told you so, you know?
Yeah, that's what I saw, that they think that it's almost like it avoids any karmic debt, because we did tell you. It's up to you to figure it out. So it's like that's what I was reading, that they feel that they've done their karmic duty to put it out there. And it could have been from 20 years ago. They could have told us what they're doing. It's up to the world to figure out where they've hidden it and what they put out there. It's crazy.
Look, I think if we're going to be honest, each and every one of us, we go back to our childhoods, each and every one of us has had some sort of warning that this day, this period was going to happen. you know, whether it will be either through dreams or whether it will be just in the way our lives had almost been nudged down this particular road. You know, wherever you are now, you were destined to be here. You know, we were all destined to be, you know, the generation that would endure what we're going through. And I think it's for that reason also that we must understand that those who have made a pact to do this to us, most of them were born in the same year, in the same month. Some of them were born on the same day we were born. All right. But they made a pact with the enemy. Right. This isn't the first time this pact was made, by the way. This isn't even the second time.
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. Okay. But this time they're looking to finish. Well, they have to finish off the job because this time they have an adversary who's made it quite clear to them they're going to be destroyed, period. So this is why we're seeing the quickening. This is why we're seeing the spiritual veil being brought down. Okay. This is why we're getting the warnings through the predictive programming and what have you else. Everything now, all the cards on the table, it is war. Let's go.
I have to agree with you. It is. And the problem is, like, for example, I'm just going to read Jeannie's comments. I like to involve people when they support us live so they feel like they're part of the show. So Jeannie says she was born in Hackney. And then she said Boris lifted the lockdown today. Hallelujah. Oh, hey, Carol. Welcome. She said she was going to try and join us tonight. So thank you. She's over on YouTube. She said, we are the chosen ones. And then Jeannie Spencer said, David Icke explains well. Now not allowed because she said BK in Australia. I'm not sure what she means by that. Do you know what she means with David Icke?
Not quite sure there. I know that, I think that David Icke had planned his last show that he planned to do. He planned to do a tour, and he was banned, basically.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, that's true. Yes, I've had some dealings through a friend with him, and he's quite the character. I'll put it at that and leave it at that. And he's definitely had great difficulty with getting the truth out there. But I also notice when we see things like the rallies going on in London and England, he's been kind of leading the charge and speaking to the masses. So, and I guess when you get a little bit of that power, I think sometimes it can go to your head. And I'm sort of seeing that in some of the interviews and what have you. But I think you have to be a pretty strong, thick-skinned person to go through what he has been through over the years, trying to tell people what was coming. What's the truth? And again, I don't know if I necessarily agree with everything he's saying, because I got to tell you, I really hate that term conspiracy theory. We know it came around it came after JFK was murdered, because he was assassinated. And, I like truth seeking because, of course, I'm not going to be running around. Joe always teases me and calls me conspiracy theory princess. And, before I put something out or I share it, like Carol's one of the people I will share with. And I don't know her well. She's just from our independent podcasting group with independent journalists. And I'm getting to know her better. But she's one of the people that actually sent me, so it didn't come from anybody in Canada, about this UN vehicles parked outside in Toronto. One person from Australia sent it to me and one person from California. So what I'm saying, I was talking about this before you came on live, that when I was talking with our producer and the owner of UPRN, Joe, one night after my show, I was saying you almost have to go to another country than your own to find out the news, especially if you have a reputable independent news source, because otherwise you don't find out. What's your thoughts? Like, how are you getting for your daily news? I should ask you that. So how are you getting your news pieces?
Well, I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. Now, I get quite a lot of news from someone called Lorilei over there in Canada.
And just so you
but
if you're listening, I know you love to call me Conspiracy Princess. You
Conspiracy
just heard how
Princess.
much work that he does to verify what I send him.
But no, honestly though, I have, gosh, I have probably about 50 Lorelei's spread all over the world now.
You need to, yeah.
And so it literally takes. And actually, a lot of my shows are actually based on the information that these people bring me now, which is great. This is what it should be. Because look, so they're almost the front line. They get the information, and then we vet it. We do the analysis. We converse with each other and say, "Hey, what do you think about this? What's your take on this?" And this is how. I mean, look. Some of the stuff about, soldiers being, for example, up in Northern Territory in Australia, I got that from overseas, then had to double check it before realizing, wow, okay, there's some credibility to this story here, and so on and so forth. But also, I think here's another thing though. We have to be mindful that part of the enemy's weaponry is literally saturating. So, for example, if there's a trinket of information, why not submerge it in 50 identical trinkets?
Yep.
So that the chance that someone's going to hit the right one without doing the analysis is rare. Okay, and off the back of that, then so and even at the best of times, what it means is, we can never be 100% sure. No. So, but this is where...
You don't always get it right. You can't.
No, we don't. Exactly. And you know what? You're absolutely right. This is where you've got to have the thick skin. I mean, for example, I got a comment today on the last show, the last news alert that I put out.
Okay.
And my take on it was, A, I'm not going to answer it. B, because quite frankly, move on. You have to move on to the next new format. Let the comment, let those who are commentating on that post, they'll work it out between them. Absolutely. Your job is move on to the next nugget of news. And you know what? Make it clear. You're only human. This is a war. We're not going to get it right.
I want to add something right there, Jimuphy, because you know what it is. First of all, I agree with you, and I believe that everything's energy. So if we put energy on something negative, and we only have so much energy, then it helps it grow. If you just leave it, right? But the other part that has been very difficult, I've been finding, and this is a really difficult part for people like ourselves and other people that are doing this. You want to call it digital soldiers, digital warriors, whatever you want to call it. Because yes, I believe we are in a war. Is when you've got the other side putting a nugget of truth with a whole bunch of mistruths wrapped around it, or sometimes they'll actually put almost all truth with a bit of mistruth, and then it's like digging through it to get out what's the truth, what's not. And then you've got all these other factions that I call them shills. I'm sorry, but I do.
Yeah.
And they seem like they're telling the truth, and people are following it, and there's no truth to it whatsoever. So that's the problem. It's just so much division, and then the censorship in the first place.
Absolutely. And I think, look, I mean, two things there. I absolutely, totally agree with you. It is a minefield, but I've basically worked out that the best way to deal with that in the first instance is you've just got to, at the base of everything, know that within your heart that you came with good intentions.
Yes.
Okay. And that regardless, well, where is this going? Right?
Right.
They're after the kids. They're after interning us. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
All right. That's where this is going. They're going to listen. The reset is coming. Food shortages. That's coming.
Our Prime Minister's announced it. He's announced
there
it.
You go.
Yeah, he announced it.
There you go. So you know what? My primary message with all this, my primary message is, especially the last couple of weeks, has been, folks, prepare yourself.
Yes.
Folks, you know, what have you got in terms of your reserves for your loved ones and your family? That's the first one. B, maintain your humanity. That's key, you know, to the very, very last, until it's blatantly impossible. But try and maintain that humanity, that love for the other person, because they want us fighting and killing each other. That's the first thing. The other thing that I will say this, and I'm glad you brought this up, Laurie, because I have to make a statement on the fact that we also know that within the ranks, Laurie, there are people who are actually territorial about their little piece of, you know, truth or whatever. Territorial is, they put ego into it or whatever else. You know, listen, I don't mind basically people jumping on, posting on my channel or whatever else. My God, this is what it's there for, because we know the enemy, he's actually got a myriad of different forces. He's teamed up with everything and everybody. The press, the media, sports stars, political, healthcare. He's teamed up with movie stars. He's teamed up with everyone. And so you're going to get an individual who says they're on our side, being territorial, or don't post on my link, or don't, you're spamming me, or don't do this. How petty, how stupid. Do you know what I mean? I think,
because what I said is, Jimuphy, and I was having this conversation with a few people, is that I think you got a little bit of audio is coming through there. You can hear it kicking back. I don't know if you got to fix it, maybe. I'll give you a sec. Yes, we have a little bit of time. I'm not quite, your phone's going off on you.
yeah,
That sounds better,
that's fine.
actually. Thank you. I was just going to say, though, when I stopped you there, is, you know, I was having this conversation with a few people that I do this kind of work with. And we were saying, you know, some people take great power in the fact that and it's those people too that enjoy gossip, right? That I know something secret about somebody else,
right,
or whatever that may be. And you're right, they get so territorial about this, and it's why. It's information we need to pull together. The more that we find out, like you're in Australia, we've got another hour. I want to hear, like, if you're comfortable, what's going on over there. But the thing is, let's finish this idea here. But I don't understand. Like, if I was going to be territorial that way, and I always give credit where credit is due. So somebody will say, oh my God, that's an incredible link you sent me. Well, I didn't find it. It came from another source. And that's what we do. We share information, because look where I ended up about those UN vehicles today, finding out, because we shared it with people that are in the same field, and nobody's territorial about it. Because I've had a few people in a few of the groups I've been in, the independent, and not so much anymore, but in the beginning, they give me a bit of a hard time. And it's like, you know, I've actually left voice messages in there and said, guys, we're doing the best that we can here. Okay, again, we're in a war. And yeah, I'm not always going to get it right. I really do my best. I try to vet it in 4 and 5 different sources. But news is changing so quickly, and we're not getting it from the normal places that we get it. So we have to try and do our best to vet it. And there's no need to hang on to it like it's a nugget of truth or a piece of gold and it's mine. Don't take it. It's meant to be shared, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you have to wonder, therefore, then, you know, what they're in it for. I mean, my goodness me, as you say, we're in a war. Did you know what? It's almost akin to, you know, turning to the soldier next to you and pointing your gun. Instead of pointing out in front to the enemy, you're pointing the gun to the side. It's absolutely crazy. But unfortunately, it is one of the, the toolkits that the enemy has got. Our own ego, our need to, to feel a sense of power. Listen, that's gone. Look, we don't even know how long we've got the internet for.
I agree.
We don't even know. We've got literally a limited time now, with the French now mandating vaccines, or is it vaccine passports? That's right. And off the back of that, vaccines. My goodness me, and which leads me on to the whole subject of, look, I'm make it quite clear I'm a Christian, but I've got to say, my goodness me, the people in the Christian camp as well, they've let the side down. There is this feeling that, oh no, you don't have to worry about this particular time. You don't have to, you can even disengage, because quite frankly, the markers that were in Revelation, they haven't happened yet. So no need to worry about it. Hello, the soldiers are on their way. They're after the kids. They're talking literally months now. The agenda is on full speed ahead, operating at 4 times the speed. How much time do you think we've got left? Have we got 5, 10? We got 15 years? Laurie, what does 15 years of this look like to you?
You know what? I just posted. So my partner was in here. He brought food up. I don't know if you heard him. I said, I
saw him.
Oh, this is an important conversation. I didn't know if he was going to join us or not. He's going to work nights today, or you would have met him. But no, you're right. And what I said was, up in my memories, normally at this time of year, because we live so close to the US, we would be in a place called Cadott, Wisconsin. It's called Rockfest. We'd go with a couple friends. We had front row almost seats. We'd camp out for 5 days. Everything was included. And I started looking back at the memories just before I started. I had an hour between, and I actually posted on my profile, wow, how much the world has changed in 8 years. 8 years, but we're talking 15 months. And I also think it's important. We have a few questions too. They're just quick ones, but I'll bring that up. But, I don't think people realize, this is 15 months. When we look at Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, that did not take 15 months. That took
10 years.
Yeah.
It took look, from the and that's a really good analogy, Laurie. You know what? From the time that the Nazi Party came into power, they came into power in the strongest democracy in Europe at that time. I mean, women's rights and whatever else were at their most liberal in the whole of Europe. And yet the Nazi Party came in, it took 10 years to dismantle that. Now, admittedly, we would believe that pre-2020, we all had an incrementally better democracy than pre-Nazi Germany, and yet only 15 months. That's all it's taken. 15 months to send us to a place that I think even the Germans. I mean, look, even the Germans today, to know that they had an army preventing them from going about their daily business today in 2021. They couldn't go to the shops. They couldn't go to their friends. They've got to wear a face mask. Freedom of speech gone. It is incredible. But they managed to do it, and they did it using, well, I mean, to be honest with you, they did it using a weapon that was put in place before our very eyes, and we didn't even know it. And that was the television programming. We didn't even know it.
You know what it is, though, too? We got that audio. Not sure what happened over there. I don't know. Is it? No, still a little bit. There we go. But what the problem is that you're right with programming. I stopped watching television a long time ago. I hurt my back. Like I said, I'm a nurse. I still, keep up with everything that's in medicine. It's not the same as working actively, but I also, read a lot of research, a lot of nursing journals. Like I just said to my family, no, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think anybody in my family, we don't have a family doctor anyways. But if there's a
Right.
problem and it's not life threatening and it's not like going to develop, they're not going to hemorrhage to death or something, I can usually fix them with stuff that's here. They don't have to go to the hospital. And I just said that to them. I said, like, you think about how many times you guys haven't had to go to the doctor over something. And again, I would never, it's not a power thing. Like, I think I'm so wonderful, I can cure you. No, it's just, I know what to look for. I know what will work. I know what won't work. And it saves somebody sitting in the emergency room for 8 hours and they heal up. If they didn't heal up, obviously we go to the doctor. But the thing is too, is when you were talking about prepping, and I think this is so important. So many people think that people that are preppers over here, I don't know about in Australia, but over here in North America, they actually made a reality show out of people that were extreme preppers. Now, the thing is, we should all be doing that. Like, even when it was December 21st, 2012, we made sure we bought some extra provisions. We had them ready. We had water. But I've been telling people this for years. You can't go wrong because the things you're buying aren't going to go bad. Like, it's not fresh fruit and vegetables. And the other thing I don't think people realize, and I believe this, and I really agree with all that you've said, except that not everybody's on the same page. And it's been theorized we are 9 meals away from anarchy. And I believe.
Wow.
Think about it. You got small kids to feed. There's no food. All the stores have been looted. What are you going to do to feed your kids?
Well, look, look, you make a very, very good point, and this has got to be front and center now, guys. Look, so last weekend, for example, bought myself an off-grid gas burner thing that I can put, it's in the back garden, so that because I know when the electricity goes, at least you've got something to use to cook. I've started shipping in the water. I started shipping in the cans of food and what have you else. And even ordering books, because it occurred to me, my goodness me, because think about it. If the grid went down an hour from now, end of story. Geez, what are you going to do with yourself?
So, and people don't think about this. Like, I bought books. Some stuff is photocopied. Still have to laminate it, but it'll still be good with paper. But you're exactly right. And who I'm really concerned about is this younger digital generation.
Absolutely.
That has forgotten about the value of what that you can find in books. Even when we're talking, when I used to do a show with a co-host here or anything, we always reminded people about the value and the information in a hard copy book. So none of these things are going to go bad. We've eventually used them all up. We didn't throw anything out, but we had it. And I've told people from the US when Donald Trump was president, I believe it was the year after he was inaugurated, he actually changed their emergency. I think it was under the FEMA regulations or something. It used to be that the US president would recommend that they had 2 weeks of provisions for every person in the home. He changed it to 6 months, including water, medication, food. And he used the example of what if we had an EMP strike? But maybe he knew stuff was coming that we didn't know, because this came out of nowhere that he changed this.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I'm glad you've gone to that, because my advice, as you know, I do these private shows now that are not connected to the channel. They're just people like us coming together, round table, and whichever subscribers want to chime in. But honestly, get yourself a year's supply. A year's supply of water, a year's supply of food. Make sure that you've got a year's supply of gas. In fact, before I came on the show, I suddenly realized, geez, I need a year's supply of matches or something like that.
Well, that's true. Because I know what it was. I used to follow somebody on YouTube. They've since been long silence. I don't know where they are now, but they had somebody on that used to be in the military, and he would teach a little bit about this. He knew Richie for it was
Richie from Boston or something like that, was it?
his name was John. I forget what his name was. Anyways, he had somebody that would, I think it was in Nicaragua. It was Nicaragua, or it was or else it was in one of the parts in Venezuela. Venezuela, I think, was without power, and so it was people from Puerto Rico for quite a few months. And he had them come on the show and talk about what were the commodities that if you had a lot of, they were like a bar of gold. Now, you know what he said? Water, obviously, a lighter, because most people cannot light a fire without matches. You can't. Try and do it yourself with a bow drill or something. I'm serious. Try it. Like people, or you got a bit of wet weather.
You're right.
No, he said alcohol, because if people are, say, chronic pain patients, people that have injured themselves, alcohol can be used as an antiseptic. It can be used.
Do you know what? That's a great idea. Yeah, you're right.
Cigarettes.
You see,
because people smoke cigarettes, and if they can't get nicotine, we're going to have some pretty angry, cranky people that are hungry. Never mind going to the crawl.
Absolutely. But look, honestly, these are the kind of conversations we need to have now, because it's coming. It's definitely coming. And for a fact that those who aren't prepped, they're going to die quickly.
I think that's where the fighting's going to start, and nobody wants to hurt anybody. But you think about that, like you've got kids. I've got an adult child with autism, so he's like a 5 to 6 year old. He only eats 6 foods. That's my biggest concern, because none of them are non-perishables. So the thing is, you've got somebody with a house full of 4 children, and I heard their kids haven't eaten for 4 days. Think about when your kids were little, especially. What would you have done to have gone and fed your children? And other parents are going to be the same way, or whatever it may be in their household who needs to eat. And we're not trying to put fear out here. It's showing this. We're having farmers from India speaking about what's happening with their crops. The government is buying them and letting them rot. There are people working in major shipping centers. There was one really powerful one off of TikTok, and he pointed out that something behind him, it had been sitting on the docks for 64 days, I believe. And he said something like this before this happened, this would have been in and out in 12 hours. He said, God knows the state of the food that's in there. It's rotting. Never mind what's going on with our meat. Like our meat, we're seeing this. It's magnetic. Like, should you be ingesting that? Like I'm saying, like this is coming, whether people believe it or not, it is. Mm-hmm.
It is. I mean, look, it's all about resilience. Mm-hmm. And, in fairness, the enemy's planned it that way. They're basically saying, look, at the end of the day, we're going to create a set of scenarios. Mm-hmm. The human race is literally going to be running a gauntlet, because here's the thing. It's not just even the food shortages, Laurie. Mm-hmm. Freak weather conditions. Mm-hmm. There's the power outages, as you've quite rightly said. Mm-hmm. You've got, I don't know whether you've seen the episode I did on strong cities and resilient cities, where the inference is, watch out for infrastructure collapse, sewage system going, the water system are going, right? Yeah. Civil unrest. You've seen the pictures of what's happening in South Africa. My goodness.
And Greece, I just saw from Greece, and we're not seeing this. And the police were going after women. I was seeing like women, and other women were screaming, what are you doing? And all they were doing was peacefully protesting about what's going on. But we're not hearing about all these things. And they were going after the women. And it was like 5 and 6 and 7 police officers. And the 2 women I saw, they weren't resisting arrest, and they had shorts on. And one of them was dragging her along the pavement. I thought, oh, dear Lord, what's that doing to the skin of her hands and her legs? And
look, it's we're not in Kansas anymore. Mm-hmm. This isn't the yellow brick road, right? I'm in Australia, but honestly, I've got no connection with Oz here. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the real deal. You know, the worst nightmare on steroids has arrived. And do you know what? It's going to get even worse than that. Because you see, there's a spiritual element here as well. Look, I was trying to, the last News Weekly I did, right? Because, you know, I did the News Weeklies and did the news alerts. So the last News Weekly I did featured the guy Wayne who took the vaccine.
I started to watch that. I watched most of it. Yes, it was very powerful.
And the biggest question there that I had to ask was, did you not know? Now, his answer basically floored me and everybody else. I mean, there's two ways you could take his answer, but essentially it floored me because I realized, do you know something? He genuinely didn't know.
I know.
Because the information, misinformation, and the illusion that was being created, that is the witchcraft. And so what it's doing, you know, off the back of that, the psychological damage, these police officers, not all of them are evil. They truly believe that what they're doing is right. Just like Wayne truly believed, and this is his own words, I had no reason to distrust the government. That to us, that's an outstanding statement. That's like, are you kidding? But look at what he said. He said, as soon as I went looking for the truth, suddenly it was everywhere. It was as if
when he started looking for it, right?
Yes.
You have to look for it.
So that tells me really that this is witchcraft that we're dealing with here. The holding captive of a mind and perception to the point where you would drag a woman down the road. These guys have seen some of my alerts where an old man in his 70s, he said, been bounced off a police van here in Australia. Incredible. And look, you know what? Here's the thing. Some of those images aren't even real as well.
I know.
Some of those aren't even real. This is what we're dealing with here. It's off the chain, off the scale. Okay? But the bottom line is, regardless, is prep, get yourself right, get as much information out to the people as possible to prep, okay? Because it's about resilience now. It's about, you know, getting your heart and your soul and your mind. You guys said it on my show, and I thought you were absolutely right. Get yourself right with God. Understand where you are. Okay, there's no, look, we all know that the people who basically, they just won't face up to this. They're literally walking around believing that if they just comply, then the nightmare, it will just go away.
That's what people are saying. And I was going there and then I stopped. I'm going to answer two questions too, but I'll wait till are you able to fix that? I think we're back again and I'll tell you what I'm going to tell you in a minute, but I'll just wait because we have a question.
I'm just wondering whether you've checked the private chat.
Hang on. Okay, that's okay. That works out perfect because we're going to be done in about 2025.
Cool. Okay, excellent.
So that works out perfect. Great. So we have a question for you from Jeannie. She says, have you, Lorilei or Jimuphy, heard of Santos Bonacci? I know I haven't.
Yes, he's an Australian. The irony of it was 4 months before COVID, when I was in Melbourne, I came across some of Santos's work, and he basically covered, from what I understand, the initial research into the social credit system and how it would come over here, and certainly the way the mobile phone towers and the microwave towers were being used to affect us, but generally that we were living in an illusion, and there is an agenda. So, but guess what? From what I understand, that guy went missing. He went missing.
Oh my goodness. See, now this is what I've been telling people. First of all, when you see something, regardless of what you believe, if you can't answer the question of why, like, why are they doing this? Why does this not make sense? Why is this, whatever it may be, if you can't answer the question why. The other thing is I'm finding this here in Canada as well, is what's happening. And I was saying 80% of people are asleep. I think it's between 90 and 95%, because this is exactly what you're saying. And here's a prime example. I quote Rebel News quite a bit. They're very transparent, because all our news, otherwise mainstream media, is funded 100% by the government. Rebel News, transparent where their money comes from. They're independent. They are supporting people with fines and providing a lawyer to fight it in court for crazy fines that they're getting. Like these, I think they're the real deal. They do have a subsection of reporter in Australia, and a few
Yes,
other
I do.
places in the world. But for example, on the weekend, there was a young woman. Looks like she's about 19, 20 years old, and she worked for the American chain Eddie Bauer. Now, in British Columbia, it's supposed to be this way in Ontario. I know where I'm living, you still have to wear a mask everywhere, no matter what, or you will not be let in. But in BC or British Columbia and the bigger cities, especially across Canada, I have seen people have gotten away without wearing a mask. So I guess the way it was structured was you can wear a mask or you don't have to. It's recommended whether you're vaccinated or not, right? Because the emergency is over, just like it is in Ontario, though they haven't announced it. So I guess what happened, and she was smart enough to tape these interviews with her boss and everybody else. She went back to work July the 1st when the third level of our lockdown was being instituted with this without having to wear a mask. Long story short, she was bullied. The workplace was hostile. They wanted to know whether she was vaccinated or not. And she stood up for herself saying, no, I don't have to give you my medical history. So what they did, they said there was a new policy that came out June 23rd. It did not reflect stage 3. On long story short, she was actually fired by the head of HR because she refused to divulge whether she was vaccinated or not. And customers were coming in without a mask. And then they had the audacity, like I said, thank God she filmed this, to bring up, they said, well, you do realize we know that your mother's been fired too from her job because she's not vaccinated. Her mother's not fired. Her mother's still gainfully employed, nor is her mother vaccinated. Why are you bringing this up into this interview? Never mind, this girl worked with them for 4 years, exemplary employee. This is happening all over here. And then, but the part I'm bringing up is the reporter interviewed a random sample of people. 90% of people not only had bought the Kool-Aid, drank it, fully immersed. And why? And then somebody else very quickly had sent me a meme, but it's true. Conversation, I think I sent it to you in 2021, about why you need to get the vaccine. I'm doing my civic duty. You're selfish. You don't think of other people. And then when they brought up all the truth factors, they didn't have an answer in the end. So it's like people, I really believe what you're saying. I almost think they're under a spell or something. It's like literally they just cannot see. What are you finding over in Australia?
Well, I mean, I had an issue recently that was actually the basis, the motivation for this latest news alert. So what I actually do is unpack the mindset behind the pro-vaxxer who actually believes that it's perfectly fine for the vaccinated now to now develop COVID-19. All right?
How? Like, how does that make
Well,
sense?
you see, so the mindset is this. You see, at the end of the day, take a family situation
Mm-hmm.
where one person has gone ahead and taken the vaccine.
Right.
You see, it's often the case that the other person will do it. Think about it. If one person gets the vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
the other members of the family will have to in support. So already the dynamics there is there is a moral dilemma
Mm-hmm.
which lends itself to, you know, this whole psychological mindset. The moral dilemma is this, you know, what do you do with the person who's been vaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
Do you then, because if the others don't get vaccinated, then you know you're basically marginalizing them. But you see, then you've got the other situation whereby what I'm finding is if you present those people with the truth that people are being vaccine damaged or in fact dying,
Yeah.
it's amazing. You'll see these people will have absolutely no empathy whatsoever, no sense of, you know, human feeling or sympathy, but they're going to expect that you
Mm-hmm.
should have sympathy for the supposed cases, even though no one in their families, no one in their locality, no, generations of people in their towns and their villages. Google hasn't struck off their village that they live in because everyone died from the pandemic. Everyone's still alive. But you see, there is this, so that there's this literally parallel universe that they're living in. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
they would rather accept, they've got no problem of accepting a 20-year-old girl, double jabbed, died of the vaccine. No problem accepting that. Okay? The other thing I tried to point out was this. You know, it's quite clear now that, right, the vaccinated are contracting COVID.
Mm-hmm. And
Now, when you're,
something to the
right,
unjabbed. Mm-hmm.
right, exactly right. So you tell me, Laurie,
Mm-hmm.
England has
Mm-hmm.
just suddenly
Mm-hmm.
said Freedom Day, go and hug each other.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me.
I don't know. Jeannie's still there. She said she just came across you. She wanted your site, so I typed it in while you were talking. But we've also seen that supposed leaked document from the UK. Now, the people that I,
Yes.
followed that are pretty truthful that unpacked it, the dates could change, but July 15th, they were talking permanent lockdown. Now, what I will say is there was a leaked document from the Canadian government last October. And even the head of Rebel News called BS on it. This isn't true. Quit sending it to me. I'm a lawyer. I know what I'm talking about. Lo and behold, they're following it to the letter that they
No,
followed.
no, we are as well.
You too?
We- the last news report, that literally the one that you're about to watch,
Mm-hmm.
I broke it halfway in the middle of it, bombshell. New
Okay.
South Wales are talking, may have to consider indefinite lockdown.
Oh.
Indefinite lockdown. And then, fortunately, for you know, as always, as you know, I I have the the official website where the news is on. But then also, I think Max Egan. I noticed Max Egan. He actually covered this. I think was it the aide to this the chief health officer declaring, "Oh, there's not enough people vaccinated." So basically, what we're going to have to do is we may have to keep in lockdown until everybody's vaccinated. But you see, in the UK, here's the thing. I'm thinking the reason why they're pushing for this, because as you know, not enough people in Australia are vaccinated. Well, if it's true that people that the vaccines are shedding,
Mm-hmm.
let's assume that there's enough people in England being vaccinated now. So why not have your Freedom Day?
Mm-hmm. Well, we've been saying that too, that because everybody we know has gotten it, and you'll get people saying, well, did you get the jab, or like, did you get your vaccine? I call it the jab because it's not a true vaccine the way I know
Right.
vaccine with my medical knowledge. You don't have to have medical knowledge to understand what a true vaccine is.
Exactly.
What we tell people is one or two things. Well, if you guys all have your shot and I don't have it, what are you worried about? You're protected. Don't you believe in what you had done? You're protected. Or the other thing we will tell people usually is, well, actually, we're in the control group. And it usually stuns people, so they don't say anything else. They probably think of many things to say after the fact, but that's what we will tell people. But I have met so many people that said, nope, no way, over my dead body will I get it. Next time you see them, yeah, I got the shot. You know what? We travel, and I want to be able to travel again. And I don't judge people that have gotten it. It's your choice, your body. But the problem is, if depending on what is being transmitted, and I use that word because I really follow the work of Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. I believe she's been very truthful. The other one, and I was surprised how many in the last couple of days have not heard of this doctor, Dr. Carrie Madej, or
Carrie Madej, yes, she's awesome.
Well, it depends how people say it, right? Some people say it that way, some people say it the other way. Now, the way you spell it for people that are listening, her last name is M as in Mark, A, D as in dog, E, J as in James. So the reason why I have so much faith in this woman is the fact that she came out of nowhere, right when COVID came out. And I seen her videos immediately, almost like within, I think it was a couple hours when the first one went out. And everything she was saying medically made sense to me. I believe her gift is she can break down complex medical information as well as language into for laypersons of any age, level of intelligence, without being condescending. And the other thing is, every single thing she said was coming with the jabs has happened. Every single thing.
Well, funny enough, those first few documentaries actually featured Dr. Madej. So, my only reservation with people like Dr. Madej and whatever else is that at times, the over complexity of the technology that's been deployed, whether, from what they claim, all right, it causes an additional amount of fear. I mean,
that's, yeah.
I wonder how much value it adds. Look, I'm not saying that. Look, and you know what? At the end of the day, people could say, "Well, Jimuphy, you were the one that pushed that self-amplifying mRNA." Yes, I did. But look, my feeling is this. Look, at some point, it's not going to matter whatever else is in that the jab. We're never going to know the full truth. Absolutely. What really matters at this point is what are we doing to galvanize our local communities to prep in the way that you described, Lori? What are we doing? I mean, and this goes out even to the Christian community, who have bent over backwards to sweep this under the carpet, right? When if they took it seriously last year, you basically could have had a situation where, well, we're going to store up resources and food and whatever else. And, so that when the time comes when people have to knock back their jobs or whatever else for the integrity of not taking the jab, they know they're not going to starve, because guess what? The community has reserved a stockpile of food and resources for them. We could have done that. We could have had that conversation. And so my feeling is this: the Madejs, the people who are talking about the graphene oxides or whatever else, You know, listen, it's all good and well, right? We know where this is going. We actually haven't got much time. Let's start. The message should be prep, 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 prep. And, you know, if you want a little bit of variation, prep more. That's the message that should be out there now. Because that's what's going to determine the difference between, for a lot of people, life and death. Geez, I'm even prepping in case people knock on my door starving, because that's going to happen. That is going to happen. Prep for at least 1 year, a year's worth of supplies.
Too, and this is where you have a real dilemma between your heart, your belief systems, like as a Christian, or like I know that you're very familiar with the Bible, and it's our belief system about how we would normally treat humanity. Like if I had to, I would give somebody else something in a heartbeat. But it's also, we don't know how long this is going to go on. And the problem is, if you say yes to one, how do you say no to the 100 behind them that find out that you have?
Well, you know something, my answer to that is a really, really good question. And my answer to that is that which has basically kept me alive today. Let God decide that. You just do what you have to do. Let God, let the heavenly angels decide the rest. If an entity comes your way that shouldn't come your way, the prayer is that person or that entity will be obstructed before they even get to your doorway. Let those who need it, genuinely need it, come and provide me with everything that I need to provide those who truly need it. But as for the rest of them, you come near to my doorway, you will be struck down. That should be the prayer. So, and this is what goes back to what I said before. We've got to listen. We've been in a round table where I was asked, "Oh, what are you going to do, Jimmy, when you find out that someone's?" Well, what can you do? Look, I spoke to Wayne the other day on my channel, and there were people that were saying, "Oh, he's a fool," blah blah blah, this, that, and the other. But the bottom line is, we would still need to show love to these people, because as someone put it, that is what separates us as humans from the demonic entities. That's what separates us.
Yeah.
And as long as we do that and we stand by that, we will be protected. But the minute you start, like the guys I was telling you before, who want to be territorial, you're onto a slippery slope. You're onto a slippery slope.
I have to agree. I have to agree with you. I need to tell you something, because I haven't had a chance to chat with you too much after we chatted the other day. And I remember when we were talking and you said just what you repeated here, that I need to remember that sometimes when fear feels like it's taking over, that I need to realize that I need to step out of my own way and let God do what needs to happen. I need to tell you something. I was talking to somebody else that night that didn't know about our conversation, didn't know anything. And I swear to you, those were the exact same words they said.
Wow.
So now, is that not powerful, or what? You're on the other side of the world. This person doesn't know you. We're having an entirely different conversation. And I hear the exact same words, word for word, twice in one day, a couple hours apart. To me, that's powerful. That's powerful.
Oh, absolutely. And I repeat what I said to you that night as well. We have got to be fully accepting that there are heavenly beings amongst us.
Yes.
What we see happening in the material world is just the peak of a monumental spiritual battle. It's being played out here on earth within us, but the heavenly angels are around us. Call upon them. Call upon them.
They're there. They will. You just got to give them permission, and you don't have to speak it out loud.
Absolutely.
Called the Angel Rock. We haven't done a lot of angel stuff lately, because I feel this is so important to be talking about these topics right now.
I'll make no bones. I'll make no bones about speaking about it on my channel. And actually, you know what? thank God, basically, I've amassed all those subscribers, still speaking the way I speak, still speaking the truth. Because guess what? If you honestly think this isn't a spiritual battle, you're deluded. Your time is limited. You're deluded. Laurie, I've told you things basically about certain things that happened in my life, and I said it just now. Look back in your life and tell me that there wasn't supernatural things that led you to this point. All right?
Yeah.
The enemies that are doing this to us, they're openly telling us there is support of it. Openly. We talked about I can't remember the term now, but the signs through the TV programs and the predictive programming, whatever. What do you think that is? What do you think that is?
I'm telling you.
The Olympic Games, the rituals, everything that's going on, everything is now ritualistic. Listen, they primed us. Look, it benefited them that they kept us in the dark of the spiritual realm and its significance, and they were part of their plan. Listen, they've made a pact. They have joined forces, they've made a pact, and they've sworn blind, and they've been passionate about making their pact. Do you know something? People like me and Laurie, we're passionate about attacking them. We're passionate about who we are. We're passionate about standing with our creator, because they're passionate about standing with their demonic creator. I'm passionate about standing with God. I stand with passion. All right? Simple as that. That's why I spend 18 hours a day doing what I do. These evil entities who do what they do, do you know something? I'm quite prepared. And this is where we have to be. Which war do you know where you had two sides? Men went to war and weren't prepared to die. Unfortunately, what we've got an enemy who very, very cleverly brainwashed us, dumbed us down, especially men, weaponized women to attack men so that there are no men, there are not enough men to stand forward and make the attack. But that time has gone. The time to decide whatever you're going to, that's gone. That's gone. They're coming for the children. All right. You will watch your children be taken away. All right. You watch your loved ones who have been jabbed, dying, affect your children, killing people around you. All right. That's what you're going to see. All right. I'm very passionate about this. All right. Because at the end of the day, all the choices are gone. All the choices are gone. Like I said, like I said in the previous show, you know what? You either understand this or go join the police, go join the military. All right, go join the other side. See how that. See how you go with that.
No, but we just have a few minutes left, so I think I'm even going to end on this because I want to give you enough time for people to find where you are and
Sure.
get a hold of you and what have you. But how I always end the show, regardless about what we talk about, I truly believe that light always triumphs over dark. We may have a lot more tough stuff to go through, like what we've been talking about. The other part is the truth will prevail. I say focus on what you want to see, not what you don't.
Yes.
And don't trust anything that we're saying. But if it resonates with you, even if you don't believe us, all we ask you is go do your own research. Look into some of the things we've talked about. See what you can find out there. And remember, I say there are enough of us out there that love is one of the most powerful emotions. And I truly believe that if we could put our differences aside, wake up, whoever's going to wake up, we're almost past that point now, but pull together and focus on, we need to stop this. We're not talking about anybody getting violent or anything, but standing together in numbers, because that has a lot compared to who is in charge and what's doing this. You got anything last to add before we let people know where to find you, Jimuphy?
Amen, amen, and amen to that. Absolutely right. You know, as I said before, you know, try and keep your humanity, try and keep that love for the next person, and be loving to those who, as Laurie said, have taken the jab. I mean, I spoke to Wayne. What a nice guy. And he's actually wanting to help other people, prevent them from making the same mistake. So my goodness me, it's not cut and dried. It's not just, so look, love, humanity, and, prep, love, humanity, and just prepare for the worst case scenario.
And then you're ready. Then you don't have to panic, because if you don't need it, keep saying to people, because a lot of people don't have the space to plan for a year or prep for a year. That's okay. Do what you can, even if if you're able to get a little bit every time you go to the grocery store. But the thing is, start to prepare, and it's not going to go bad. Like I said, we prepared back in 2012 for December 21st. Nothing happened, and that was okay. We didn't go crazy. But we had enough stuff that had we had to hang out for 6 months or whatever, and it was in the middle of winter, we were okay. We were going to be okay. And I think people need to hear this. A lot of people get scared, but remember.
Yes, you're right. I think also, look, and that's one of the reasons why I'm starting to do these private shows where can discuss ways to prepare and what it is to prepare. Because as you quite rightly said, once you do that, my gosh, it does take the weight off you. It alleviates that sense of fear. Look, I wish we could say, oh, this is going away tomorrow, but we wouldn't be telling the truth. It wouldn't be fair to you, So be prepared. And you know what? I'm a strong believer in putting it out there to God, and he will ensure that he'll point you to people who have prepared and can maybe spare something, or can show you things you can do, or whatever else. There's lots of different ways. Strength in numbers as well. Shared preparations. That's got to be the way as well. So that's.
Well, I'm sure we're going to do more shows together, you and I. We only got about a minute or so left. So can you please tell people where to find you, what night, when you release your podcast, a whole bit? I've already typed your website in. Somebody had asked, I believe it was Jeannie, but she said, this has been so interesting, guys. Thank you. What she said. So please tell them where to find you, Jimuphy.
Right. So essentially, you can go to the BitChute channel, which is PlannedilLusion. All one word. That's PlannedilLusion, all one word. You've got all the documentaries there, the short fired news alerts, and also the long form interviews that I do with people like Laurie. But in case that goes offline, there is PlannedilLusion.com, where again you will find all the documentaries. So, and I've also got now private chats. Are we getting Laurie to come on board to talk, to have private chat with just small groups of like-minded people who want advice, like be 10 or something. And if you subscribe to PlannedilLusion.com support, go on the support link, you'll get a link, and then you become a member, and then I'll send you a link to the private shows. So that's about it, folks. I'm just a humble guy like everybody else doing this, but love to have you on board for sure.
Well, like I said, Jeannie said she just found you last week. I didn't get a chance to say hi. Jeff Gibson is watching. I'm not sure who he is, but he popped in, so welcome. And we're just about to, but I want to tell you guys, if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on facebook.com/Angel Rock. That means if you ever want to book a reading with me, energy healing sessions, I do mentoring and teaching. I also have 2 groups on Facebook. Paranormal University for all things paranormal, which means some of the negative things we talk about. I have a background in that as a light worker, believe it or not. It's quite the story. And then we have the Angel Rocker Tribe for all things, like some of the things we've talked about, or, the power of the mind, the power of positive thinking. So people want to know about energy, chakras, things like that. We've got beautiful people in both groups. And I will be back on Friday here with Joe Montalto with the Centralist. We'll be live at 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central, and we'll be discussing all things politics. So I want to wish you guys all a wonderful, beautiful evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you may be. But one P.S. I just remembered. I think we got some feedback there, Jimuphy. Are you able to fix that maybe just for a sec? There we go. Thank you. What I want to remind you is I'm taking over again. I should say I'm guest hosting Karen Holton's show, who we've talked about, who's a friend of ours, over on peopleforpeople.ning. That's N as in Nancy, I, N as in Nancy, G.com. It'll be at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She's on holidays, and I've been so deeply honored that she asked me to do this for the last 2 weeks. And I'll be joined again this week by a very, very close friend of mine out of Atlanta, Georgia, excuse me, who is also a fellow light worker, Leanne Clark. So feel free to join us over there tomorrow too. So again, thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you again. And Jimuphy, thank you from the bottom of my heart always. I look forward to doing more shows with you. Good night, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you may be. And good morning, I should say too. Australia's morning. So we just have to wait for Joe to turn us off here. We're still live. So thank you for coming on. We always have a little bit of chit chat till we get Joe on. Oh, sorry, I kicked that by accident.
Yeah, I've actually literally got to go now because I've got another show to jump on.
Up. I knew you had to go. Thank you for being here, and I will be in touch with you. We'll work something out to do this again.
Absolutely.
Great show. Thanks, Jimuphy, so much.
Take care. Bye.
You too. Have a great day. There we go. We're just waiting for Joe to turn me off. Thanks, everybody that was in the chat tonight. I know it might have been a little bit more hard for you guys to find the YouTube channel because we don't use that one as much. But like I said, we've got a bit of a ban. I think we're back next week with UFO Paranormal Radio. The strike will be up. But we have a secondary channel, which is UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials on YouTube. That you won't find this show on there because obviously we talked about topics that can end up making the censors over there not too happy. So the link will be unlisted, or we are also found our archives anywhere where talk radio or podcasts are carried. So we're talking iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Podbean. I'm trying to think, Spotify, anywhere you can think of, you can find all of our archives and shows there. So I welcome you to our channel because I see there's a few people that were new here. So thank you so much for being here and all your input with the show. We'll see if Mr. Joe can hear me. If not, I may have to text him. So the camera may go black for a second while I text him, guys. I'm still here. Just letting him know we're all done. And I hate, the reason why I speak out loud while I type is so that there's no dead air, you guys. Because I hate to do that.
Crazy, man, because she's crazy. That's why. And I can hear you. I can hear you. I was just reaching for stuff.
I was just texting you. We're still live.
No, I heard you for that. I couldn't. Yeah, we're still. I couldn't get my fat finger on a button.